The following podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, medical, or any type of professional advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, laws and regulations surrounding sexuality, relationships, and consent can vary by location and are subject to change. If you have specific legal or medical concerns, we strongly recommend consulting with a licensed professional in your jurisdiction. Listener discretion is advised, as this podcast may discuss adult themes and sensitive topics. By continuing to listen, you confirm that you are 18 years or older. Welcome to the Siren of Freedom podcast, sounding the alarm by bringing clarity and freedom to the realm of sexuality. Our aim is to give others a place to share their stories and release themselves from the weight of shame and guilt. Welcome to the Siren of Freedom podcast, another episode, and today we are going to talk with Mary. Hello, Mary.
Hello.
And again, I'm your host, Siren, and then I have my hubby and producer, Socrates. Say hello.
What's good, y'all?
So we're really excited to have Mary here. We love these personal one-on-one interviews, and just for Mary to have a chance to share her story on her journey of sexuality. So, Mary, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what's your current relationship status? How old are you? And what do you do?
Yeah, I'm in my late 30s. I am married. I've been married for over 10 years, and I'm a business owner.
That's awesome. And are you just been married just the one time?
Yep, just the one time.
Cool. Tell us a little bit about your family dynamic growing up.
My family, so my mom and dad, my biological dad were married, and then bad things happened with my biological dad, and so my mom left him, and then she was single for like 5 years and then married my dad. And so my dad got like this instant family, and so he was kind of not standoffish, just like he didn't know what to do with a daughter when they first got married, and he was like, what do I do? And so we had like this weird relationship for a while. And then my dad is very like non-PDA, and so I never really saw my mom and dad like hug or kiss or anything like that. I thought that it was weird when people did that. And so one time my mom gave my dad a kiss before we went to Utah for something. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, Mary can see us. And so, yeah, that's kind of the house that I grew up in. Like, they definitely loved each other, but they did not show that physically. Right. And so that's kind of how we grew up. And I didn't have a lot of conversations about sexual things with my parents. It was very much like, do what the church says and just don't have sex before you are married. That's basically all my mom ever told me.
So it's kind of just like awkward, like not a lot of physical, when you say a weird relationship would be more like awkward, like not a lot of hugging, not a lot of affection because, he just has this instant daughter. He didn't have any kids of his own, right? So, and if you don't want to talk about that part, do you want to dive in at all about the bad things that happened? Was it like some abuse situations? If you don't want to talk about that, we don't have to talk about that, but I'm kind of interested to hear with your biological dad a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my biological dad wanted me to be a boy. It was really weird. And he told my mom that she needed to get a job when I was 2 months old. And so she went out and tried to find a job. And while she was gone, I guess I started crying or something, and he threw me against a wall. And I almost died. I got hydrocephalus and had to be life flighted and all of that. And so my mom left him, and I got put in foster care because women usually go back to their abusers.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put me in foster care for a couple months, and then I was returned to my mom, and I've never seen my biological dad again. But that's kind of the short version of what happened.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot to take in. And how old did you say when your mom married her second husband?
I was 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like a lot to take in, by the time you have this trauma that you're a baby and then you move forward, then there's not a lot of physical affection. Do you remember like seeing other kids and parents interact and like have that physical affection with hugs and just, just kind of the normal things that or typical, I don't want to say normal, but typical things. Did you see that? Do you remember like feeling a difference? Like,
I don't remember really thinking about it. I just thought that was normal not to get a lot of physical affection. Like my parents hugged me. It wasn't like I never got any physical affection.
Right.
It was just less than now what I've seen.
Right. And perhaps, and you have children of your own right now.
Yeah.
Right. And probably, more what you do with them too. So are those parents still married?
Yes.
Okay. And how long what's like the range have they been married?
They've been married for a little over 35 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have more siblings from that? You don't have to tell us how many if you don't want to.
No, it's really interesting because my siblings are all a lot younger than me, and like when they will like not cuddle with my dad, but like sit near him, he'll put his arm around them, and if he puts his arm around me, I'm like this is weird,
Right.
But
Because you're just not used to it.
Yeah, but seeing and that's just the relationship we have, and it's totally fine. But then seeing like how my sisters are more comfortable with that physical affection, like it's just different to see how they've grown up and how I kind of grew up, because I think I'm more guarded because of what happened. They say like the body keeps the score, right?
Right.
And
your body remembers.
Yeah, your body remembers. And so I think that I've always been standoffish to hugs. And anytime someone touches me, I like tense up. And so I've just been like that my whole life until I got married. I was like that.
Yeah. Until you got married to Bob.
Yeah.
So you mentioned religion. What kind of religion did you grow up in?
I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay. And what did that religion teach about sex and affection and all of that? What was kind of the take that you got from that?
Before marriage, you don't have sex. You don't have anything close to sex, nothing like that. And then they said, when I was growing up, it was like no petting or necking. I was like, what does that even mean?
I remember those terms. And I was like, what are we in the 50s?
Yeah. And I don't know if they still say that to kids, but I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like,
yeah, my dad said something about like heavy petting. And I was like, I just kept thinking about animals. And I was like, don't you just pet animals? Like, I didn't understand. And I didn't ask because I was like, this is weird. I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah. I never asked. And people were just like, do you understand? And I said, yep. And I did not. I'm going to be very honest right now. I did not know what sex was, like fully what it was, until I was a freshman in college. And my roommates were talking about it. And I was like, oh. And they're like, did you not know what that was? I was like, no, I totally knew. I did not.
Yeah.
So people would say things. I'd be like, oh, yeah, totally. And
you had no clue.
I had no clue. My mom even like sat me down when I was like 13 or something. And she's like, I need to know if you know what these things mean. And she like went through all these like terms and stuff. I'm like, yep, absolutely. I did not have a clue about any of it.
Yeah. What do you have to say, Socrates?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Our listeners will know this by now, but I grew up completely opposite from you. And so I'm fascinated by these things. So when you first heard about it, what was the thing that came into your head? What does the thing that first came to thought? Was it arousal? Was it curiosity? What was it when you first heard what sex really was?
Oh, I was like, oh, that makes sense. That totally makes sense because I knew the parts that were involved. I just didn't know how they all went together. But do you want to hear a funny story? Because
Of course we
you
do.
do.
Yeah.
So, my husband found out what sex was when he was in a parts store, and you have the female part and the male part, and they go
Right.
together. And he
Right.
was in the parts store, and he's like, that makes so much sense.
Right. I remember thinking that in the hardware store and just
Yeah.
like, I didn't say it out loud, but I already knew what sex was. But in my head, I was like snickering. Like I've kind of always been a teenage boy.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting. Like it's interesting with the different listeners that we've had, like how they've learned about sex and the different ages, like, and being a late bloomer or whatever, that's not uncommon. We haven't even interviewed that many people yet, and just the different discoveries in different ways, and just really the lack of sex education on our parents' part is like a running theme.
Yeah.
Like, I was determined when I had kids that it would not be a big deal. Like, it would just be something like, why are boobs different sizes? Why is the sky blue? Like all the same, tone. Like, I talk about it so much that my husband gets, he grew up, like I grew up really religious too. And then he grew up the opposite. And he's like, man, this is like so weird to hear you just like how freely we just talk about it at our house. Like, it's no big deal. So I just didn't want to have that lack of education. So so you didn't learn about it until you were a freshman in college, and like, tell us about that conversation. Like, kind of how did the topic get brought up? And
I don't remember how it got brought up, but I do know that my roommate who was in the room next to me was doing it all the time with her boyfriend. And so I got a very good education. What the heck?
she would share.
Yeah. And so
She wasn't just soaking then?
No.
Okay.
That's so dumb.
I want to hear more about that. I have some curious about that in the LDS religion. Did you hear about soaking?
Yeah.
And like,
no, I never heard of any of my friends doing it. I've heard of people, they say they do it. Like, it's a thing at BYU and BYU, Idaho. I didn't go to those schools. So, but I've heard of people doing it. And I was like, that's stupid. Like, you're literally like,
you're pretty much having sex.
pretty much having sex. Like, what are you doing? Or they go to Vegas and get married for the weekend and then get annulled the next week. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Just so they can have sex.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, just have sex if you want to have sex. Like, anyway, it's stupid.
So what did you think about, did you think any, like, were you have any judgments about your roommate having sex all the time? Because clearly in your religion, you're taught not to do that.
She claimed she was LDS, but I was like, well, okay, that's rude. She didn't really live how you're taught to live. And so I'm like, well, she's just doing her own thing, like, whatever, that's fine, So I didn't really judge her for it. I was like, that's just how she's living. I know it's really hard to like leave a religion or to abide by all the rules, I guess you could say. So I was like, you do you, I don't care, whatever. I just wish you would stop banging on the wall. But that's cool. And then there's me, who's just like never even kissed a boy. She's like, yeah, it was interesting.
So it was like annoying to you?
It was just annoying. Yeah.
Was there like ever feeling like, man, I wonder did you ask her more questions? Like, what is it like? Or
I did not like her. We did not get along. She was very entitled. And like, for example, she had all one color of dish, like the same color of dishes. And then they would all be in the sink, and she would have a sign up that said, ladies, we need to remember to do our dishes. And literally all the dishes in the sink were hers. And so that was just like her attitude. She grew up like daddy's girl. She had like the custom order car that she always wanted. Just she was just very entitled.
So she was like, I might as well have sex because I'm having everything else I want. Right?
Yeah. And so I'm just like, you do you. I'm just going to stay away from you because I don't like you.
Yeah. So tell us about like, then what did you kind of think? What like so basically you didn't take any action. You hadn't even had your first kiss by your freshman year. Were you more like I want to follow the rules because it's in my heart, or were you more of like afraid? Like tell us kind of what you were thinking about all the rules regarding sex.
I don't think I didn't kiss anyone because I was like afraid or the rules or whatever. I was just very overweight in high school. Like my junior and senior year, I gained a bunch of weight for some weird reason, even though I was like exercising for 3 hours a day. It was weird. But I was not confident in myself, and I just didn't think that anyone liked me. And so I never like flirted or anything like that because I'm like, they're not going to like me anyway. So why had the possibility of getting rejected? And so I just didn't even go there. And then I kind of didn't know how to like show interest in boys, I guess.
Right.
And so like I had this one guy who we like hung out a lot, and he went on his mission for the church, and he came back and he thought I waited for him. Like you say waited so you don't date anyone else. You're waiting for them to come home so you can like date them.
Right.
And
Kind of like when people went to war, but they're going on their mission.
Yeah, they're going on their mission. And so he came back and he thought like I waited for him. And I was like, did you even like me? Like I liked him, but I didn't know if he liked me, because I never like made.
There wasn't a lot of communication going on about that.
And so I didn't even know until I think the first person I kissed, he was, oh my gosh, a total, can I swear?
You can say whatever you want.
He was an asshole.
Yeah.
So he was just looking for one thing on his mind, and I did not know that. And so he was like finally like broke that barrier, I guess, because he just wanted it so bad. And then
what was it?
Like just kissing.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Well, he wanted more than
All
that.
of
He
it,
wanted like sex. He was like very pressure. Like he was like, we just got to do it. Like, and he would be like, oh, I'm so big and I have such awesome like man parts. And I'm like, I really don't care about that. So anyway, it was, after that, I was like, oh, men can like me. So then I was a little more like,
at least a little more, it like broke the ice of confidence of like, oh, okay, well, I do have sex appeal.
Yeah.
So then so how old were you then when you had your first kiss?
This was embarrassing. I was 24.
Don't be embarrassed. Like
Okay.
everybody has, like we got Socrates over here that lost his virginity at like 12. Okay. And then me, I was a virgin till I got married at 19. I kissed boys when I was younger than that because whatever. But so, and then we, like I said, there was another guy on here that didn't even discover like even self-exploration or anything until he was 17. So, don't be embarrassed because it's just, it's just the journey, right? And we want to hear about all of it. So, so then kind of what did you hold like beliefs for yourself of like, was it more just the lack of opportunity is why you didn't explore that? Or did you have some like values that you were like, I want to wait for the love of my life or till I get married? Or what kind of beliefs did Mary, own for herself?
Yeah, it was definitely, I wanted to wait. I didn't see the point of doing that. Like I had seen people get pregnant before marriage and just obviously not ruin their lives, but like it was hard. It was very hard. And so I was like, well, I don't want to deal with that. And I don't want to deal with other things that come along with being like sexually active. And so, and I just held that belief like that I shouldn't do that until marriage. And so that was like part of my core beliefs. So it definitely wasn't just being told that, but I think I went a little too far one way. Like I could have simmered down a little bit and kissed somebody when I was like 16 or something,
Right.
So
hindsight's 2020. And then so tell us about meeting Bob
Oh, so
Because I think you told kind of a story before. There was like someone right before him, and then so kind of tell about that transition. And then, so did you wait to have sex till you got married?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So tell us about like the guy right before Bob, and then that transition to
So there
marrying
were
Bob.
a couple guys before Bob. The first one, I'm just gonna name him asshole. He was very much like, oh, we'll take things slow. We'll do what you're comfortable with. And I was like, dude, I'm not ever having sex with you, like, unless we're married. Like, I'm
Was
not.
he also Mormon?
Yes, he
Okay.
was. And so he was a convert. Like, he got baptized when he was like 20, I think.
Okay.
And so he's like, it's just too hard. I can't not have sex in my life. And I
Because
was
had he already had sex
Yeah, yeah.
before he converted?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is funny
get
though.
it.
He told me, he was like, just have sex with me. You're not going to get pregnant. And then the girl he dated after me, he got her pregnant. And I'm just like,
And you were like, whew.
it's like, well, thanks for not doing
So there
that to me.
obviously wasn't like a lot of education on birth control, because
Yeah.
they just abstinence is it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, same.
And so my parents did say though, they're like, don't have sex. If you do, make sure you use a condom. They did say that. They're like, be smart about it. But my mom was just like, just don't do it. That's all you need to know. Just don't do it. And I was like, okay. But even like before I got married, there was nothing said to me about like,
There was no like pre-wedding night preparation.
no. And so when my sisters got
That's
married,
wild.
I know. So when my mom was just like, you'll figure it out. And I was like, I could have like
Used
had
a little
some-
coaching, right?
Like a little bit like, hey, it's going to hurt like hell the
Yeah.
first time. I was not prepared for that. I took my sisters aside the night before they got married. I was like, there are some things you need to know. And if you are uncomfortable with this conversation, you can tell me to stop. But I feel like you really need to know this, and mom isn't going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And they did tell me thank you for that. So when my youngest sister gets married, I will probably do that to her too.
Yeah. Can I ask, what did you say? What was the advice you gave him?
I can't remember exactly. I said, don't be like pressured to have full blown sex like the first night. Like, you've been not living that way forever, you know? And so I said, I did tell them about like orgasms. I was like, you deserve to have one, and it might take some time. So just take that time, you know? And then I said, it will probably hurt. And just be prepared for that. And it's okay, because it gets better. Because I know some women, they have that first time and then they're like, I'm never doing that again because it hurt so bad, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's what I told them. And I said, just have fun. Like, don't feel pressured to like do anything. And don't like do things just to please your husband, as people say, you know, like make sure it's fun for both of you. Because I've heard of people who like they never knew like what an orgasm was until they were married for 20 years. And I'm like, that is so sad. And so I think I told him that stuff.
I think it was quite a while before. I actually think that I did not have an orgasm possibly until I was pregnant with my second child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially like my husband at that time like worked out of town a lot, and then I figured out how to like make it happen on my own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have self-exploration before you got married at all?
No, not really. I did know. I didn't do any self-exploration. Like, that's very frowned upon.
Right.
And I thought I was
That's why I
going
was curious.
straight to hell if I did that.
Which is such a robbery, because you really do, especially as a woman, need to know how your body works, because, you know, every single body is different, and it helps in that communication to like, you know, especially if you're both virgins on your wedding night, it's like, he doesn't know how your body works. And if you don't know how your body works, like, it really helps if you just do some things on your own.
Yeah,
So
I agree. So back to meeting Bob, I kind of had a wild year. Wild for me, okay?
Right.
Before I met the jerk face, and I met him, and then that kind of started like an exploration of like making out and doing stuff like that. And I did go farther than like I thought I ever would, but we never had like sex. We never took our clothes off, like nothing like that. But
Did you
like,
go to second base, Mary?
so just arousal levels, I guess, were a lot
Did
higher.
you get into the petting?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, I did.
okay.
Yes, I did. And so anyway, so then I stopped dating him, and then I started dating somebody else who was an even bigger jerk, if you can believe it. Like, he was straight up abusive, and I did not realize that until after I met Bob. And so this other guy, we'll name him Jeff. He came to visit me, and he was just a jerk the whole weekend. And after he left, Bob was like, I think you should stop dating him and date me instead. And me and Bob had been friends for like 7 months before that happened. And I said, you know what? You're probably right. And so I called Jeff, and I was like, Bob says I should date him and not you. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, are we exclusive or whatever? And he was like, this is his words to me. You should date him because you need someone to make out with when I'm not there. And I was like, who are you making out with when I'm not there? So I like kind of was still talking to Jeff. I don't know why. Like,
It's an attention thing.
Yeah,
It feels good to
yeah,
have
yeah.
attention. Yeah.
yeah, that's probably what it was. And then finally, well, Jeff for some reason thought that we were getting married, and he was going to move to where I lived, and we were all going to be like happily ever after. When I found out that he was like getting sexual favors from other women because I wouldn't do that with him. And I found that out after like I officially broke things off. But like, he would say like, oh, you're lucky that I like you because nobody else will, and nobody else will have you. And on a scale of like 1 to 10, you're like a 5, but you're lucky that I like you. And so he would just say
Wow.
things like that. And I didn't, like, my whole life, I'd never really had a lot of like male attention. So I was like, well, maybe this is like the
best you
the
can do.
best I
right?
can get. Maybe this is the best I can get, you know? And so then I started dating Bob, and he was so different. Like, he wasn't abusive, so that was cool.
Right.
And
Check.
yeah, that checked a big box. And then he would actually stop things, like when we were like making out or petting, as they say. He would stop things. He'd be like, okay, I think, we're getting like too much is happening, and I know that we don't want to go like have full-blown sex, so let's just stop,
Right. Did you guys have a discussion of like how far that you wanted to take things?
Yeah. And with the other guys, I thought I had gone too far, and like I needed to go talk to my bishop or something, because we didn't have like full-blown sex, but like there was stuff that happened, And so I went to my bishop, and he was like, if everyone was like you, the world would be fantastic. He was like, you are fine. Whatever you're doing, like, obviously, if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. But in the eyes of God, like, you're fine. And that was just kind of awesome to hear, because I was like, I'm going to hell. So,
Right. It's like, if you do one thing, do
Yeah.
you have some
Yeah,
input?
whoa, like that kind of sounds like Siren, you had a pastor that kind of gave you some sort of advice in that direction, right? And I'm like, that's awesome, because
It's real.
I expected to hear a little bit more horror stories about it. And I'm not saying that it's not, you're boring or anything. This is amazing stuff. It's awesome. But I'm like, good for him, because look, I mean, I grew up as Southern Baptist until I was 16. Then I converted to the religion I am now. But Southern Baptists have the same mentality, and I can imagine, and Southern Baptists are not known as strict as the Mormons are, right? So it's like, I can imagine a lot of Southern Baptist people to be like, oh, you're living in, in sin, and you need to, and to have an understanding bishop that says, hey, you know what? Guess what? We're human beings. We all fall short of the glory of God. And, on a scale, on the scale of life here, like, you're not dealing with it. That's amazing, because it kind of sets you like, well, let me not project. What did you feel after he said that to you?
I still felt very guilty. And I was like, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand what I did. But I did tell him what I did. But knowing that he knew what I did and telling me that, like, I am just a very guilty person anyway. Like, I feel guilty all the time.
You have
about
a heavy
everything.
conscience.
I have a heavy conscience. And so, but it was a relief to know that I wasn't going to hell. But he did say, like, if you're not comfortable, then stop doing it, but you're fine. Like, that's totally acceptable to do. And I was like, oh, well, that's awesome then, So I was very relieved, but at the same time I was like, I don't think he really understands.
Yeah. I remember feeling a lot of guilt and just fear of like pregnancy or like actually fear of pregnancy like really kept me from doing anything. And then, before I got married, I mean, like we did everything except for put it in, So, by the time we got to that point, but I did feel very guilty about that. I've since very different, but in between marriages, like after when I was going through my divorce, what my husband now was referring to is that I did talk to a pastor, and he was just like, listen, you've been married, you know what sex is like. He's like, I don't really think it is, an expectation that you're going to go backwards and like become a born again virgin in your 30s, And so that gave me a lot of like peace of just like hearing, just a man of God, kind of like reassuring you that like, you're human, you have these feelings, it's natural. And he said, you'll probably get married in 3 years, or within 3 years you'll get remarried or whatever. He's like, if you were a little older, I'd just tell you, just go have fun and forget about it. Which was like, I just appreciated his authenticity and just realness. I didn't get remarried for 10 years. And in that time, I definitely just went and had some fun. But so tell us about then, like when you get to your wedding and your wedding night and you didn't have that information, just tell us a little, as much as you want to, about that experience without like having that sexual education and like kind of how it was. Tell us like kind of how it was for you, however you want to describe that. And then like what you would have wished someone would have told you.
It was funny because I was ready to go. They say a lot of people who are religious like have that good girl syndrome. And I did not have that. As soon as we got married, I was like, let's go. But I think my husband was the opposite. He was like, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? I was like, oh my gosh, take my clothes off. Like, what are you doing? And so, but this was the education part again. Like all of a sudden he just stopped and I was like, what happened? Because he was done, like,
yeah,
he was done. And I was like, he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, what are you sorry about? And I didn't know.
Did he even get it in?
No.
Yeah. That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
It was like it touched me and then it was like,
yeah,
the fountain went off and it was 17 seconds.
Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean you're sorry? And he was just done. And I was like, what the heck? And so anyway, we worked through that.
Right.
And then
have the little the recoup time and then.
Yeah. But I really wish someone would have told me before that the first time, like it does, like you do it fully, that it hurts because, and you just got to get it over with. And
do you think like if they had said something about like the possibility of pain and then like lubrication, like some other things like that would have helped? I didn't have any pain, but I think because I did do some self-exploration, just like not with toys or anything like that, that might have like helped,
Yeah.
with that. But yeah, I've heard a lot of women like they bled, like all kinds of things,
Yeah.
so there's all kinds of, variables on that. But so just like knowing that there's the potential for pain, like what you could do to help with that.
Yeah.
Just like any coaching on like foreplay would probably
Yeah.
help, and then like, hey, sir, you might want to take care of yourself so you can recoup and then
Yeah.
and then go in there with your wife. So how long do you think it took you guys to kind of like get in the groove?
Well, it took a month before it was able to like, I was able to let him in all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was very, very frustrated. I was frustrated, but it just like I could not handle. I know I keep talking about this, but I couldn't handle the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would like be a little bit.
That's okay.
And,
This is your experience, your story, your time on the podcast.
So yeah, it would be a little bit, and I would just be like, I can't,
It's too much.
And so,
did you try anything else? Did you try like using his hands a little bit, or
yeah,
like
he
did
did.
you seek like any advice in there? Like, hey, this is like not going. Did you ask anybody for help?
I didn't ask anybody. Well, actually, I did. I talked to my mom one time, and she was like, yeah, I was afraid of this happening. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? And she's like, I didn't think it was my place. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Right. And that is so concerning because it's like, if you can't talk to like your mom or, someone about it, that's just what concerns me and why I have just like such a heart to talk to women, because I just feel like you were saying, like, you deserve to have an orgasm. You deserve to have these good experiences. But if there's not that education and that comfortability of someone that you can go to, and then it leads, I think, to like generations of women not having a good sexual experience. And then that leads to like, it's your duty and, all that other stuff, where like we get the rap of like women don't want it. And the guys are like, oh, I'm lucky if I get it once a year. Well, if we had some education on, like you're telling your sisters now, like you're doing them a service now because you're like, hey, it is for both your pleasure. There will, you work on it, but you can have an orgasm and you deserve to have one, all of that. Like, that's what we need is more people. And that's, one of the purposes behind this podcast is just to get that comfortability out there of like, guess what? There is only a couple of ways that people get on this world, like, in vitro or sex. So why can't we talk about it freely?
Yeah.
Clearly, we're all humans walking around. We're a sperm and an egg. And here we are. So, why can't we talk about it? So,
yeah, I think it's super important to talk about, especially because I did hear those things of, oh, it's not that great for women. You just have to please your man so that he doesn't leave you or look somewhere else. And I'm like, what? Like,
yeah. Or I heard like he physically needs it. And if you don't help him, then somebody else will.
They didn't know who they were talking to.
What do you have to say about that, babe?
Because they should have been talking to the husband. Like, she physically needs it.
Oh, my ex-husband?
Yeah.
They should have been coaching him. Like, watch out.
I have a question. Like I said, this is all a lot of foreign. This is really foreign to me. So I have some questions, and if you want to edit this part out, we can. Or, this is a direction you didn't think of. That's fine. But again, for our audience, I'm only speaking about my experiences in my churches and not anybody else's. But when I grew up, we had the preacher's daughter. And like you said, I have been a whore since I was 12 years old. So, I didn't grow up under those restrictions. So I started having sex at 12 and I haven't stopped since. And so in our community, it was known that's where you went. Like if there was especially the way she dressed. So if she didn't dress prim and proper and she was the preacher's daughter, that's what you're going after, because she's going to be the freakiest, nastiest, most open. My question is, I've heard rumors about that, about Mormons and ex-Mormons. Is that true, or is that just a rumor that people are talking about on the outside?
I never heard of that happening. Like, I did hear of people like just kissing, like, oh, seeing as many people as they could kiss. Or like, there was this one girl, my roommate, all the guys kissed her, and she like bragged that she'd kissed like 75 guys, and they would like get in groups and like talk about her. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never want to be like her, you know? And so I never heard of like anything past that. It was just like making out like, oh, that person's fun to make out with or whatever. And I did not want to be like that. Like there was a girl in high school like that, and there was a girl when I moved here that was like that. And I was like, that was like my life mission, not to become that girl. And I did a pretty good job.
That's my theory. It's like, you know, and what we want to make clear is that we're never trying to disrespect the religion at all. Like, I'm a religious person. It's just that my religion is a lot more liberal about these things. But so my theory is that the more restrictive anything is, then the subculture is going to be the opposite. So like, you know, that's what it is. It's like if you're so restricted by it and you can't talk about it, you can't do it, you can't discuss it, and anything around it is linked to evilness and dirtiness, then what happens is it starts producing, not everyone, some people are like you and they're just, I'm going to go with this. And I like what Siren said. Some people said, like, it's in their heart. Like, they truly believe these things, right? And other people are just doing it just because they don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to go to hell, right? But it starts cranking out some of those people down the line that are almost living really extreme or like a lot of sex in their lives because they were so repressed for the first 20, 30 years.
And restricted.
Yeah. So what do you think about that being still in the religion and still part of it?
I definitely have heard of people leaving the religion and then they just kind of go crazy. They're like, I'm going to drink as much as I can. I'm going to have as much sex as I can because I can do that and no one's telling me not to anymore. So I have heard of that happening a lot. Or the other side of that is they get married and they still think that sex is bad. And so then they don't want to do it because they're like, oh, it's bad. And they have that mindset of it's bad. So I've seen those two things where they go extreme. Like you said, like they probably have more sex with more people and be a little less safe than like a typical person would because they don't know what's typical or how to be safe because they never got that education. But yeah, that's what I've seen from my point of view. Like, anyway.
And where are you at kind of like now with sexuality? Like, do you like tell us like as much as you want to tell us about like your current, like, do you feel like now that you've been married and you've had some time in it, like, are you like really enjoying it? Is there things that you would, you know, want to do more of? Like,
I have always been like, when we first got married, I was the one who wanted it more and it really bothered me. I was like, do you not find me attractive? Because like I was told my whole life that like the men want it more than women. And so like,
it's a lie.
Yeah. Just, it's a lie. And so I was thinking like, because he didn't want it, like for the first year or something, like we did it like every day, you know? And then it started being less. And then he'd be like, oh, I'm tired. And I'm like, I was told that if I like took my clothes off, then you would be like on me like in a second, you know?
Right.
And so, but that's not what was happening. And so I was like, am I? And it was my lifelong fear of like, oh, you're not attractive. He only married you because I don't know why, but you're not attracted to him. You're not attractive to him, you know? And so I was like, what's wrong with me? But we've kind of worked that out. And so it's a lot better than it used to be, where I don't feel like, I was like, if I told you no, you would sulk forever. I was like, but you tell me no like all the time and it's just okay. And then I even talk to people about it and they're like, well, that's what the man wants. You got to do what the man wants. I was like, that is bullshit. Like you have to like, that's not okay. You have to like make both people happy. And so we talked about that and he was like, oh, I totally understand what you're talking about. Like I would feel bad if like, so he doesn't, I said, I don't want you to feel like you have to say yes just because I want to do it. But it's really like frustrating. If I say no, then you get mad. But if you say no, then it's just okay. And he was like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, of course, that's understandable, you know? And so we've come a long way with that. That was just like in the beginning, like kind of what we struggled with. But I discovered, okay, this is going to sound funny. I thought that all women were bisexual. I
Mhm.
thought being bisexual was just like a normal thing and people just didn't talk about it. Turns out that's not true.
Well, I think there is some science that like both genders are not 100%.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to dive into that, but I think everybody is a little bit bisexual, whether they want to admit it or not. Because like, I'm sorry, but who doesn't love boobs? Like boobs are amazing. So,
Yeah.
anyways, but what do you want? What else did you want to say about that?
Oh, I was just saying, like, I just, like, I don't know if people just don't admit it, like you were saying, or, like, I truly am, like, bisexual or whatever, but you were saying, like, what do you wish? Like, obviously, I'm never going to, like, cheat on my husband or go have sex with somebody else, but, like, I just think about that, like, what would it be like to do that, you know? And,
Or like bringing a
or
girl
bringing
in,
a girl,
into
yeah,
the two of you.
yeah, not a guy, because that's gross to me that my husband would be with another guy.
Yeah.
but bringing a woman in, I'm like, yes, totally, let's do that. But that just creates all sorts of problems that I don't want to.
It can and it can't, and we can talk. We have lots of people that we can talk about, and lots of resources for all our listeners that is interesting. I love these podcasts because you just never know where it's going to go. Yeah. So, did you want to say something about that, Socrates? But remember, we're trying to keep this on the PG side of the thing. So,
what did your husband say about that?
I don't know if he's just like role playing or he really wants to do it, but like while we're doing stuff, he'll be like, yeah, totally. Like,
so you like talk about the possibility.
Yeah, but it's like while we're like in foreplay and stuff like that. And so I don't know if he like for me, like I legit want that to happen, but I don't know how he feels about it. 'Cause in the daylight hours, I'm like, let's not talk about that.
Well, and two, like, I just think it's cool that you guys seem to have like pretty good communication about sex. And we talked a little bit about how you had boudoir photos taken, and I loved your last one because I had that little thing. I was like, let's do stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was so cute. So do you feel like you guys have pretty good like communication about that? And then as far as like, you know, do you feel like, because it does, you know, after being married for over 10 years or whatever, you know, there does get to be things that's like, you kind of done it all, right? So it does make sense to have other fantasies and other things about like adding people and even just talking about it, you know, and even if it never happens or if it does happen, you know, that just like opening up the possibilities and that you can talk about it is such a good, healthy first step in all of that. So, I think we can talk more about that on the other side of the Siren of Freedom, but we are kind of getting close to our hours. Is there like any kind of like final thoughts that you want to?
I don't know. I'm just gonna say, if you grew up religious, don't like. You can wait until marriage to have sex, and that's fine. That's good, whatever. But after you're married, like, just have fun. It doesn't have to be like this pressure thing. It's not like, oh, you have to satisfy the wife, you have to satisfy the husband, and not both enjoy it. And so, yeah, that's just.
And what would you say? Like, what is like the secret for you guys of like your communication staying open about that?
Just saying the hard things. Like, that's all that, you know, we can do is just say what you mean, what you want, being honest, even if it's kind of hard. Like, my husband is really hard to read. And so when I'm talking to him, I'm like, what is going through your brain right now? Where I like instantly react to whenever he tells me stuff. And so just not being afraid to have those conversations, saying what you need, and because it's only going to make things better. Like in the beginning, when I said, it, you know, it really hurts my feelings or it frustrates me when you can say no, but I can't. And he's like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like, I'll accept it. If you don't want to, you'll accept it if I don't want to. And that could have turned into like a huge issue in our marriage, you know, but just like bringing it up and talking about it, you can solve things before it gets out of hand.
Yeah, and I think that we often make things like I could talk for a whole section about that, because in my first marriage I did feel that, and I didn't feel like that communication happened, and so then I carried that with me of like the meaning of, if someone doesn't want to have sex with me, I'm not attractive, this, that, and whatever. And I've really had to give credit to my husband now, because he's really just been like, sometimes our bodies just need a reset, and it's not against you. And it's been hard for me to like accept that. And it's been a lot of work. And sometimes I'm still like have that little tinge of like hurt feeling, but I know that, he does a lot of reassurance of like, you're attractive, you're wonderful, I always want you. But sometimes my body, so I've been practicing in my head, just being like, okay, it's okay if we just go to sleep tonight, and like it doesn't mean anything. I'm still beautiful and amazing. And then the other night I was like, honestly, like we can just go to sleep tonight, and I won't be butthurt, and I'll be good, because I do struggle with that, and I'm working on it. But I just have to hand it to him for just like the constant reassurance of like, I don't have to make it mean that I'm not attractive, or because that's lies, right? You're attractive, I'm attractive. Like our partners would not be with us if they didn't have that attraction to us. But it's just interesting how we just get something in our head and we just make it we're meaning making machines.
Yep.
So do you wanna speak on that, babe?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to applaud you for what you're doing, because, we know a lot of ex-religious people, right? And their story is the same, like you said, they're going to wild out and it's going to be great. But to be still in it and committed to it and still say, you know what, I'm going to take this path over here. It doesn't mean, I feel like you are staying within bounds of what you and your relationship with God means, but you're exercising and maybe playing on the edges a little bit, but knowing, okay, these are my boundaries, but I'm going to expand it out a little bit more than the last generation did. And I'm going to help my little sisters understand this is what you're really getting into, and here's how you can do it and still have a great relationship with God. That's amazing to me, because it's really easy to throw the whole thing out. And, I really get that. I'm a minister myself. I don't talk a lot about it because we were not burdened with, I don't like the word burden. We didn't have the same restrictions. So I try to sympathize with that. But at the same time, I understand the desire to not anger your God, whoever you believe in, it,
Right.
whatever it is. It's like that's strong desire, right? I want to please my Heavenly Father. I want to please the ancestors. It doesn't matter what it is. And for you to kind of step out of that, I don't think people know how big that is. So I just want to applaud you for that. I think that's dope.
Well, and just, I kind of just stick by this. Whenever anybody mentions anything like you were mentioning about like adding another person or this or that, it's like whatever you and your spouse, this is my belief, and no one else has to ascribe to this, but I believe that whatever you and your partner agree to, whether it's one other person, 20 other people, whatever, as long as everyone is of age and consenting, I think it is okay. And it starts with that good communication, though. Anything in there. So I just want to say that little tidbit at the end. So, but thank you, Mary, for being on here. We appreciate you. And yeah, I just love doing these, because you just don't know what you're going to discover about someone's story. And there's so much freedom in sharing what you've gone through and the journey that you've gone through. And then someone else out there that's like in a similar religion or waited till they got married or whatever, they might find just some strength to communicate better, to explore new things, just by hearing other people's stories. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks. Good night, guys.
Thank you so much for listening today. We hope this podcast has been an encouragement to you. You can find us on our website, thesirenoffreedom.com, and also on social media and Patreon under the Siren of Freedom podcast. Your support is what helps us continue to sound the alarm of freedom. Thank you so much for listening today. We hope this podcast has been an encouragement to you. You can find us on our website, thesirenoffreedom.com, and also on social media and Patreon under the Siren of Freedom podcast. Your support is what helps us continue to sound the alarm of freedom.
Fear living a free